Shannon Lover-Year. I am live and loving it tonight. It is Sunday, December 22nd, 2019, and this is Sunday Night Live, Part 2. That was a really bad French accent, so if you speak French, I apologize for that bad accent. Bobby, thanks for jumping on. I just did a good 8 minutes of a video, and the sound was going in and out. It wasn't working well, so I had to cut that one off and start over. Sherry's back. Sherry, let me know if this is better. Daryl, I'm glad you're here. Pat, thanks for jumping on. You guys, I'm so glad that you're taking the time to pop in on this second to last Sunday of 2019. We only have one more Sunday till the end of the decade, which is technically not true. I heard on the radio that the decade actually doesn't start until 2021, but I'm having none of that. I'm staking my claim. 2020 is my year. Gino, I'm glad you're here. Missy, I'm glad you're here. Pam, I'm glad you're here. Let me see. I missed somebody. I know I did. Oh, yeah, it was Dawn. I'm glad you're here. And sorry about that big pet. Charles, I'm glad you're here. Yay! Hopefully you guys can hear me well. I had a little bit of technical difficulties at the top of the hour when I started, so I had to fire it back up. But we're all good now. It looks like things are going smoothly, so we are going to get started. As you know, I am all about, well, I don't know what to do, guys. Hi, Dawn. Sherry says she still can't hear. I don't know why we're not having good success. Well, I'm going to sally forth. We're going to see what happens. You guys, I'm hoping that it clears up. I'm not sure what's going on. Jim, I'm glad you're back. All right, so tonight we are going to talk about the 3 catalysts for change that we often see in our lives. And it is very, very important where the change comes from. Where does the change come from? You guys, you can't hear me? I wonder if this would work. You guys, are you hanging with me? So you can tell this is live video, right? Let's try this. All right, guys, can you hear me? I just plugged in a little lavalier mic to see. Testing 1, 2, 3. You guys, I'm sorry. Hi, Carol. Oh, Missy says it's going in and out. Missy says we can hear now. We're on. Thumbs up. Yes, we're rocking and rolling. Yay! All right, tonight we are talking about the 3 catalysts. Well, three catalysts for change, not the only catalyst for change. The 3 catalysts for change are so important for us to know, where does our change come from? It matters because it affects how long we stick with it often. So as we're kind of rounding out the end of 2019, it's a great time to reflect on the changes that we've had in the past year. This is an ideal time to reflect what's different this year from the year before. And what would I like to change moving into 2020? So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And also next Sunday, we're going to talk about change. And how do we design change? How do we know if we really want change? All these questions, sometimes it's hard to know. But we're going to start with this, the 3 catalysts that often cause us to want change. The first one is this: desperation. Desperation will often drive us to seek change when, if we weren't desperate, we would have just kept on going. When I was a teenager, my mom and dad were divorced, and I got a phone call from my dad kind of late at night, and he was weeping. And he said, "Shannon, I just want you to know that I know I'm an alcoholic, and I'm going to check myself into the hospital, and I'm going to get over this, and I'm going to kick it because my life is a mess." His wife, his second wife, was threatening to leave him, and he shared this story many times, so I'm not telling any of his tales. His second wife was getting ready to leave him. He had fractured relationships. He wasn't functioning at work. He was dehydrated. He was starving. When they put him in the hospital, they had to start feeding him intravenously because he was suffering from starvation and malnutrition. He was desperate. He hit rock bottom. I'll tell you what, hitting rock bottom is one way to figure out you need a change. Is it the best way? I say no. I don't think it's the best way, but it is a way. It is a way. And if you are at a point in your life, hear me now, if you are in a point in your life where you are feeling desperate, don't waste this moment. Don't waste it. When we are desperate, we are primed to change. This is your time. If you are desperate and you know there's something better, now is your time to take action to get it. Don't let this moment of desperation pass you by without taking an action that says, I'm going to respond and I will do something about it. If you are desperate and you don't know what your next step is, send me a private message through Facebook and I will point you in a direction. If I can't help you myself, I will point you in a direction where you can get the change that's going to make your life better. Desperation is absolutely a catalyst for change. Maybe you're not desperate though. Maybe you're on the other side of that pendulum. Maybe you are inspired. You've seen something that just lit your fire. You said, oh my gosh, I had no idea that this existed. I had no idea that a person could actually go to school to do X. I had no idea how fun it was to actually bake or cook or surf or sew or coach or speak or operate on brains, whatever it is that inspires you. When we get inspired, that is our moment. That is our moment to say, hey, I can take some action. I can bring positive change into my life because I am inspired by that. It is unbelievable, the power of inspiration in our lives. Unbelievable. My sister Erin is a widow. She lost her husband several years ago. And that was a horrific, devastating loss. No question about it. That was a change that she did not invite. She did not want. But she did not make decisions out of desperation. She chose to make her decisions based on inspiration. She was inspired. After her husband passed away, she was inspired by the people who cared for him in the hospital to pursue a career in nursing. Just a couple of weeks after he passed, she started school. She now has her bachelor's degree in nursing. She was inspired to make a change in her life. She didn't allow a desperate situation to keep her locked in. She found the inspiration, something to pursue. I can't say this enough. You can only run from something for so long. Those decisions you make to change out of desperation, they're valid, they're powerful, absolutely do it, but don't stay desperate. Find your inspiration. What are you going to run toward? Because that's where your stamina is. Mary, I'm glad you're here. Sherry, I'm glad you jumped on. You guys, I'm so glad you're popping in just in time to talk about change and the 3 catalysts for change in our life and how we can assess that and what it means when those are the catalysts for change. So we first talked about desperation, valid 100%. If you are in a desperate situation, now's the time to decide to change. Don't waste that suffering. Don't waste that pain. Do something. Make a change. Get out of that situation. Reach out for help. If you need help from me, reach out to me. If I can't help you, I will point you in the right direction. But do not stay where you're at. Let that desperation spur you to change. Then inspiration, the other side of that pendulum when it swings, where we are so inspired that we have to pursue that thing. It excites us. We are following our heart, living into our purpose. Susan, I'm glad you're here. We can only run so long from desperation. It will only fuel us for so long. The thing about change that happens because we're desperate is that when we're no longer desperate, it's sometimes hard to maintain that change, right? While we're desperate, nothing, I've got to get out of here. This is terrible. I've got to make a change and I've got to do it now. I can't stand this one more minute. Yes, take the step out, but find that inspiration that's going to continue to allow you to follow the change that you know you want, the dream you have, the thing you know you want to pursue. You've got to have inspiration to actually have change that's sustainable. We have to run towards something. It is exhausting running from desperation. When change comes to us from desperation, it is exhausting and it is draining. You can only run so long. But when you set your eye on that inspiration, that is energizing. That feeds our energy. That feeds our fire. Inspiration is what is the catalyst for change that allows us to sustain it. What inspires you? What excites you? What do you know in your heart of hearts? And I love seeing those hearts. I'm glad this is resonating with you. What in your heart of hearts energizes you? Dawn, thank you. Carol, thank you. What turns you on? That's the thing that you can pursue. Scott, welcome. Ron, I'm glad you jumped on. Talking about the catalyst for change in our lives as we're closing out 2019, getting ready to start 2020. I maintain that we are starting a new decade, and I don't care what the experts say about it. 2020, we're starting a new decade. It's a brand new world, if you ask me. So, what are you going to do in 2020? What are you going to do to pursue that thing that inspires you? What are you going to run toward? We're winding out 2019. There may be some things back there that you don't want to repeat. There may be some decisions you've made that you're regretting. Leave it behind. Leave it behind. Ron says he just dropped off all the troops. Yes, Ron and Courtney have many children, and so sometimes there's a lot of transportation that happens. But I'm glad you were able to jump on late. It's okay. I started a little late because we had some AV difficulty, so it's all good. All right. Leave your desperation behind. Don't waste it. Let it motivate you to make that change, but then find that inspiration that's going to keep you motivated to keep pursuing it. All right. This is the third catalyst for change, and I think it might be a mistake to call it a catalyst, you guys. Deterioration. We talked about desperation. We talked about inspiration. There's another factor at work when it comes to change in your life. Michelle, hi, I'm so glad you're here. There's another factor at work. Desperation spurs us to change. Inspiration compels us to change. Deterioration is what we are doing when we refuse to change. We're still changing. Nothing stays the same. Brandy, I'm glad you're here. Think about that for a moment. Think about that for a moment. If you're not actively deciding to make a change, to move forward, to be different, to be better, you are deteriorating. And that is, to me, one of the saddest states that we can ever be in. This state of thinking that we are holding a line, that we're holding our own, that we're okay, we're just going to stand pat, we're just going to stay right here, we're not going to move. And somehow we tell ourselves that we are not changing, but we are. We are becoming less and smaller. Our world is shrinking. Our dreams are shriveling. We are deteriorating when we are not changing. That is hard to hear. It is hard to hear. It is hard for me to think about the time I have wasted. The time I have wasted settling. It's okay. This is fine. I can deal with it. What are you settling for? What are you just tolerating? Standing pat, not changing because, it's not that bad. Well, it's not that good either. And while you stand pat and don't pursue those things that truly inspire you, while you stand pat, the only thing that's being fooled is you. Everybody else, everything around you is moving. You are not in the bubble you think you're in when you are standing still, not taking meaningful action. That's hard to hear. It is hard to say. I know some of you really feel justified in being frozen where you're at. And I can feel your pain because I have been frozen in the past, afraid to change, afraid to make a decision, not loving where I was, but not having the courage to go where I knew I wanted to go. And so I tried to stay the same. And you know what happened to me? My spirit started to shrivel. I started to get depressed. I had panic attacks. I am a positive person. I have so much to live for. I started having panic attacks, afraid to take action, afraid to move. Kaylin, I'm so glad you're here. And Julie, I feel ya. You can't deal with it. Right? We cannot stay the same. Sometimes desperation makes us change. And we jump out of that hot frying pan, right? We get out of there. That was terrible. I'm not taking it anymore. I'm out. I gotta move. I gotta do it different. I can't live like this anymore. Valid stuff. Sometimes it's inspiration. We think, oh my gosh. And hopefully when we come out of desperation, we start facing toward our inspiration. What's pulling us? What change are we pursuing with everything that's in us? It's so energizing, so exciting. And then there's that third catalyst, if you will, deterioration. The change that happens to us when we refuse to choose to get better. We're never staying the same. Never staying the same. If you are not getting better, if you are not growing, you are dying. Listen to me. If you are not growing, you are dying. And you don't have to die. Shrivel, shrink, enclose your world, get small. None of those things have to happen. You can start right now choosing to grow and get better. Daphne, I'm so glad you're here. We are finishing up tonight's Sunday Night Live talking about change and some of the catalysts that bring change into our lives. I am interested to hear, as you reflect on 2019, what changes happened in your life? What changes happened? Carol's chiming in. She says, you do have to make a choice. So agree. Yes, we have to choose. Not choosing is a choice. Not making a decision is a decision, right? We are always in the position to decide to move forward, decide to get better, choose to take action. Ron says this, is it true to say that there are times that it's okay to wait until the time is right to execute the change versus jumping, oh, you guys, thank you, into it too quickly and unprepared? Absolutely. Oh, timing is so important. But as you are looking toward the change you want to make, you're not standing still. You use that time to prepare yourself. Who do I need to be for that change to actually be effective? Who do I need to be? Where do I need to grow? What parts of me do I need to stretch? So that when it is time to make the change, we are prepared. A great example of this, Ron, is when I decided in 2015 or was it 2014 actually? I decided in 2014 that I would be leaving my postal career in 5 years. I decided 5 years ahead of time that I would be leaving my postal career. I knew there was a big change that I had to make. I knew that I wasn't thriving where I was at anymore, and it was time for me to make a change. But I didn't just pull the trigger. I made a plan. This is how I roll. There are other people who would have decided immediately and acted immediately. More power to you. I'm not going to say you're right or wrong. I'm just saying that's not how I'm wired. So it took me 5 years, but in that 5 years, I had a plan. I got education that I needed. I got certifications that I needed. I learned how to network. I learned how to make business connections. I learned how to run a business. I learned how to start a business, let alone run one. So in those 5 years before that big change happened, I was preparing myself. What did I need to learn? Who did I need to talk to? How did I need to prepare myself, my home, my mindset, my family, all of those things, 5 years. But when it was time, I was ready. And the whole time between when I made that decision to leave and I actually left, I was not standing pat, living in fear, protecting myself, hunkering down. I was taking action to be prepared to go to that place I knew I wanted to be. So to answer your question, absolutely true that there are times that it is okay to watch the timing of a change. Absolutely. But that's never an excuse to do nothing, to stand pat, or to settle. If we have to settle while we're waiting for timing to change over here, we had better be looking at all of this other area of our life and saying, okay, what can I do? How can I grow? Because if we're not growing, we're dying. Make sense? I hope so. Let's see. Anybody else have a comment or a question? Chime in if you do. We're wrapping up. Pretty soon it's going to be almost Christmas, right? We're going to be all caught up in the final preparations and stuff. Thank you for the thumbs up, you guys. Thank you for the hearts. I love seeing them. They encourage me so much. And I'm so glad you're here. Courtney, if you're here, hi. Abby, if you're with Ron, hi. So glad you jumped on. I would love to know what changes happened to you in 2019. And did you choose them? Or were these things that happened to you? Did you spend all of 2019 reacting, or did you take some proactive steps to get toward the life that you know you really want? Because you are the only one who can take those steps toward the life you want. You're the only one. If you don't take them, nobody can drag you there. Carol says this, 2019 was life-changing in my thought process and decision-making, mainly because of our mastermind classes monthly. Oh, Carol, that warms my heart, where I have grown so much. Thank you for bringing up those mastermind classes. I want to remind all of you that we have a Saturday morning, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. mastermind class. We have another one coming in January, 3 Saturdays a month, costs $25 to jump in. And this mastermind in January is going to be mind-blowing because it is about, drumroll please, dealing with difficult people. Can I hear an amen? Anybody who wants to get better at dealing with difficult people, I invite you to take part in the January Mastermind. Tomorrow, when you go on Facebook, you'll see that it's posted on there for you to be able to sign up. I would love for you to do that at the Thrive and Change page. All right, so let's see what we've got here. People are chiming in. Carol, before I move off of what you had to say, that weekly mastermind that has caused you to grow so much, I'll tell you why that's happening. 2 reasons. First of all, you have been faithful and consistent. And when we want something to change in our lives, that consistency matters. That consistency yields results. I was dieting for the last 5 months. I've been watching my weight. I don't like to call it dieting, but I've certainly been eating better. For the first 2 months, I lost no weight. It just seemed like I was just doing the same thing over and over and over, and it wasn't working. And then all of a sudden, it was like, oh yeah, Now we're going. Now we're going, because that consistency finally compounds. I don't encourage you to keep doing the same thing. If you keep standing up and bumping your head, absolutely move over before you stand up next time. So you might miss that board. But sometimes we just need to see the consistent sowing of good seed to reap the benefit. So that's what that mastermind is great for. And we've got a great community there. So I'm glad it's been beneficial to you. All right, so let's see. Sherry says a little bit of both. Some changes that you didn't invite, some changes that you did. I think that's the case for a lot of us. It is for me. Okay, Missy says this: taking time to find that inspiration is so key. Keeping that top of mind is important as you go. Love that advice. I'm glad that means something to you, Missy. And Missy's an entrepreneur. She's a businesswoman. And I'll tell you what, it's not an easy gig being an entrepreneur. It is not. But when we know what's inspired us and what we're heading toward, what a difference it makes. It is so much easier to keep going when we're tired, when we can see that inspiration, the thing that caused us to make the change in the first place. Love it. All right. Ooh, Michelle's giving kudos about the mastermind classes. Thank you, Michelle. I love it. Bold steps to get to the life you desire. Yeah, bold steps. If you crave bold steps, being in a leadership mastermind is a great place to get the confidence you need to take the next step. And also, being surrounded by people who love to grow helps us all to grow. Oh, and Missy's saying she recommends the mastermind class. You guys, how can you resist all this good stuff? That makes me so happy. And I'll tell you, I love the mastermind class. I grow in it, and I'm the one who's facilitating it. But I learn as much as the other participants, because when we come together with a heart to change and grow, and we sharpen each other, and we've got that area of safety where we've got people that we know we can talk to and we can trust them, and they can bring us their insight and their wisdom. It's change that you can't get in a vacuum. You can't get it by yourself. So I'm glad you guys love that mastermind. Thank you for the kudos for that. Looking forward to January, dealing with difficult people. You are going to love it. So watch for that. Actually, it'll be up tomorrow, on our Thrive and Change page. You can check there, sign up. It's $25, 3 classes. They're recorded if you can't be there live, but I want you to be there live. It's so much funner. And with that, I think we're going to wrap up. Thank you guys for telling me about the changes that you've had in your lives. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for your consistency, showing up week after week. Some of you have been so faithful. Some of you, I know, it's on your calendar. I can't tell you how honored I feel that that's the case. I appreciate it so much. As we come up here on Christmas, I want to wish you all the very best of Christmases. And before I go, I have one little piece of advice for you that I've learned by trial, but it has been a worthy lesson, and I will share it with you generously as you come up on this holiday. For many of us, it may not be perfect. It may not be perfect. It's okay. Be present no matter what's going on. Be in that moment. See those people. Feel what's going on. Don't disconnect. And if it is disappointing, I want you to know that you can have a do-over. Even if it's Christmas, you can have a do-over. I know this can happen because our family had a disappointing Thanksgiving one time, and it was truly disappointing. A lot of bad things happened. It was not a happy day. We all sat around in the evening and reflected and thought, this was horrible. It was so miserable. It was so disappointing. And it was Thanksgiving. It was supposed to be great. And then my husband and I looked at each other and at the same time said, you know what? We're doing it again. So Saturday after Thanksgiving, I made a whole Thanksgiving meal. We invited friends over. We shared bread, broke bread, had turkey, stuffing with our family. We had a do-over. If somebody ruins your holiday, if it doesn't go perfectly for whatever reason, I want you to know it's just a day on the calendar. You can have a do-over, and I encourage you to do it. So don't start feeling desperate. If things aren't going perfectly on Christmas, it's okay. You can have another one. Schedule it in January. You can do like I did when I was a postal worker, and I actually worked with the mail when I was first early in my career, worked with the mail, totally overwhelmed. There was so much to do. I had to work a lot of hours. I was exhausted all the time. I started sending Valentine's cards instead of Christmas cards. I just couldn't get the energy up for the Christmas cards. That's okay. It was a do-over. And people loved getting Valentines from me. Nobody sends them Valentines anymore. So there's always a way for you to still connect. If somebody ruins your Christmas, if somebody blows up, if they have a meltdown, we know this happens. That's okay. That day will be gone. You can go to bed, get up in the morning, plan a do-over, invite the people that aren't going to create chaos. Go out to brunch, have them come over, sit around the fire, drink coffee, do whatever you want to do. Don't let one day blow everything. You've got the opportunity to choose to do it again and do it again so that you can get it right. Make the connections that you want to make, and don't worry about it if it doesn't go perfectly the first time. Just try again. That's all we can do. Just try again. You guys, I love you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for riding with me. Thanks for riding the wave with the technological difficulties on the first broadcast. I love you all so much, and I look forward to seeing you next week where we're going to talk a little bit more about change. Looking forward to 2020. It's going to be awesome. It really is. Can't wait. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks for all the hearts.